This is a crusade. This is a holy war against the deep state.
Where are the dictators? Where are the strong men?
Donald Trump is our instrument for retribution.
I'm going to fight for Christians. I'm going to fight for white people.
They have the Great Reset. We have the Great Awakening.
And why shouldn't I root for Russia? Because I am.
I want to see these people go through misery because of their grooming against our children.
After the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol.
I did nothing wrong.
Welcome to the Did Nothing Wrong podcast, where we cut through the noise and help you make sense of the chaotic information space around us. I'm Griff Somke.
And I'm Jay McKenzie.
Luc Bernard is a French video game designer based in Los Angeles. He recently built the first Holocaust Museum in the game Fortnite and was viciously attacked on Twitter by neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes and his fan base for this, which resulted in yet another Twitter ban for Nick Fuentes. We're lucky to have a chance to talk with Luc about this, as well as his other game, A Light in the Darkness, and the general state of Holocaust education in America. Stick around. Luc, thanks for joining us, and welcome to Did Nothing Wrong.
Hi. I'm terrible at intros.
So can you tell us about your background and some of the video games you've created over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say my recent background. I've been a video game director for close to 2 decades now, and I created the first video game about the Holocaust, The Light in the Darkness, which launched earlier this year in around February, first on the Epic Games Store, then it came after to PS5, planning to launch on all the other systems, launched it for free. It's been highly effective. Around 300,000 people have finished it from all over the world. And then most recently, kind of making the first Holocaust Museum within Fortnite. Okay.
And you said that you've released this on all systems. It's available for download, this game?
The Light in the Darkness only on PC and PS5 for now. Okay. It's soon coming out to PS4 and all the other systems.
Okay. Got an Xbox One. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know that you're not taking any money for that, and you've invested. Well, this, from what I've read...
everything. I'm insane.
And you've spent, I think, more than a decade trying to make this game and get it out there, so that must have been quite the process.
Well, yeah, I couldn't get any funding for it, so I just funded it myself. I did, basically, in the end. That simple.
And I know you've talked about wanting it to be something that schools can use and wanting people to know about the Holocaust and meeting the younger generation where they are. Have you had the reception you've hoped for?
Yeah, I mean, schools are going to be using it. They are. Everyone kind of in the Holocaust space now even accepts video games. So let's put it this way, like even in regards to politics, so no one to go into Israel, but pretty much Israel, no matter you agree, disagree. But even the Israeli Holocaust Education Ministry are like, this is kind of great. So kind of when you have that, pretty much be like, this is great. You're kind of like, shut up anyone else who says you can't do it. But even in the US, like they, all the big organizations, Holocaust ones, are kind of 100% behind this. They are now.
Very cool.
We've really changed the space we have.
So let's talk a little bit about how we met on Twitter. It was entirely by chance, but we happened to find some common cause fighting with Nick Fuentes and his groypers online. Twitter let Fuentes keep his ban evasion account up for 4 days, despite the policy on Twitter saying they don't allow ban evasion accounts. How were you personally able to force them to act on this?
Well, so I didn't actually have any clue, because I know Fuentes had posted about my work in his Telegram a couple of days prior. I wasn't entirely aware where it's all coming from until like Jay and some other people like, this is Fuentes, pretty much. This is his account. And then when his account kind of got locked for like 12 hours and he just posted on his Telegram and it was growing to up to 12,000. So the problem which I saw was, so Twitter wasn't aware, or X, I'm just still going to quote Twitter. Yeah. They just weren't aware that they were.
Right.
And the problem was the organizations who are meant to be aware of these things were not even aware either, even if it was making international news. Like I was actually having friends in France just sending me like the TV and basically being like, why are you on TV fighting with Nazis? What the hell is going on, Luke? Like people from the countryside that have no clue even about the work I do. And they're just like, what have you done? And I was even on CNN Turkey. It was that bloody ridiculous about the whole thing.
I saw a New York Times reporter reach out to you. I don't know if you got in contact with him, but
Yeah, no,
it really was everywhere.
Oh yeah,
New York Times even did articles, so it exploded everywhere. It did, and the problem was no one was even reaching out to me or kind of doing anything. They weren't, like, even was making international news. And so after, kind of in which account it was, I was sent over to a buddy who works at an organization that's in Europe that's still a trusted partner with Twitter. From what I know, I think the ADL, they've been cut out of Twitter, I don't know. But pretty much within 2 hours after I sent him the account, banned, removed, pretty much. But the consequences of this is that now governments are kind of hitting up Twitter with me in it, and they're like, how the fuck did you let this happen? How the fuck is this kind of happening, pretty much?
Right.
Which, to me, I'm very much like, I don't think governments need to get involved in this shit. I'm just more like, how the fuck did the ADL let this happen? Is kind of my response to it. And I'm actually really livid about this because they're making partnerships with organizations in Europe. They can't even fix a problem in the US. So kind of don't come over to Europe and try and pretend you can fix a problem when small organizations are managing to find the things, noticing everything, and taking care of it. I believe in the ADL's work. I do. I just believe it's highly ineffective, the level at which they're operating at. And it's more words than kind of actions. And even when just the fact that no one's paying attention to his Telegram, 800 employees, how?
Yeah.
And even in the case of Fuentes pretty much managing to get banned earlier this year, or even last year, when I was checking out Fuentes' stream, and he's going to put basically Kanye West onto Aiden Ross's stream. Aiden Ross is also a dickhead. But pretty much I noticed that, and I hit up some people in the gaming space that happen to know his manager to kind of get that show cancelled. Again, second time. This is not okay.
Right.
This isn't.
Yeah. And you're one person, and we're just watching Twitter and watching these spaces and happen to come across it. But like you said, the ADL has a lot of employees and a lot of people who...
They have a huge amount of employees. My publicist still trying to reach out to the kind of Southern California branch. They will not respond. And I think they won't respond because I pretty much called out Greenblatt. I did. And that's why I think, because even if you know, even as one thing, so Jewish Telegraph Agency did a piece on the museum. Greenblatt was like, this is fantastic, great. After I called him out, the next statement with the New York Times is pretty much the video game industry needs to fix everything, otherwise this doesn't count. And I'm like, wow, okay, pretty much like just because I called you out and people noticed it and you looked kind of like a fool, you're now being mad based on your kind of decisions. And to me, it's like, if Jonathan Greenblatt wants to declare himself king of the Jews, right, in America, it's kind of like being a president. Joe Biden, like the guy, I will fucking criticize him, like for the Afghanistan thing. I criticize him. We're not meant to kind of bow down. Leaders are meant to accept all the criticism and kind of do better. They are. So that's really my problem. I'm seeing the ADL get turned into Jonathan Greenblatt's kind of ego project. Like they're fantastic researchers again over there. They do fucking important work. But this kind of needs to stop because it's growing. Hate is growing in the US, and it's under their watch that all these things are happening.
Yeah, and I agree. I support Joe Biden too, but he's not above criticism, and that's part of what we see with MAGA and Trump, that they have made him above any criticism, and that's when you get into a cult-like mentality, which is not okay, and it does lead to poor decisions and poor management and mistakes. So I agree, and a leader should be able to take criticism and deal with it. But I did notice that with Fortnite, so you created the first Holocaust Museum in a video game in Fortnite, and the ADL still gave the game an F rating, which is their lowest rating.
Worse than Twitter, so everyone knows, right? Fortnite is apparently worse than Twitter.
Apparently.
How did they justify that?
Well, so with Epic, I've used to light and dance with them. They guaranteed me I won't receive hate if I do talk to them. They take care of it. How can I make the platform better? They delivered. They did. And then with Fortnite, pretty much, they came in to actually help and be like, okay, the security settings need to be this way. Don't have voice chat. Don't have dances. Like, so now the museum pretty much, everything which Nick Fuentes' guys wanted to do, they can't do. So they've given up on it.
Nice.
They have. So it's become actually a safe space for everyone. It has. And so Epic really deeply care. They really do. And they don't just talk about it, they do things. Because again, the Fortnite Holocaust Museum, that's not usually allowed.
Right.
They just really did me a big one. They did, and they believe in the cause. And I'm eternally grateful for them for that. But so why the ADL kind of rated them an F, and that was something which I publicly disagreed with before earlier this year, is because the ADL found usernames inside Fortnite. Basically looking up on a public website, usernames. They found a couple as Holohoax, pretty much, kind of usernames like that.
Right.
Usernames which most of the game industry isn't aware of. They're just like, they have no clue. It's kind of like meme, kind of Nazi memes. And pretty much there was no way to report it within 24 hours. There's also no Holocaust denial policy within their hate thing, pretty much anti-hate, speech things. And so they rated an F based on that. They took the same single social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and applied it to a video game. So why you actually can't do that very much is, so Fortnite, they came back and they're like, listen, these accounts have been inactive for 3 years. They are bad, but it's not a problem like what you're trying to say. We have a policy of anti-hate, all those things. Why Fortnite I can't talk for them very much, but why there shouldn't be Holocaust denial policy was in Fortnite, because after everyone will start asking, what about Armenian genocide? What about this? And Fortnite isn't a social media platform. It's not text. It isn't.
Right.
So then you're inviting all the trolls to come in and kind of do all this hateful stuff. You don't have people literally yelling Hitler was in Fortnite. You don't. But also another thing. So they're asking Fortnite to police their users, right? How can Fortnite police the users of the PlayStation and Xbox? Xbox controls the PlayStation users. PlayStation does. They're doing all the vocal things, all those things via those consoles. So basically blaming Epic for the entire thing is counterproductive and just utterly insane to rate them at the same level as Twitter. It's not a social media platform. Even when people play 100 players at a time, it's all live. It is, how do you say, for example, imagine you wanted to kind of find a way. Microsoft has come up with a new thing where they're giving an 8-strike rule pretty much before they ban completely a user's account. That's what Microsoft is doing. That helps Epic because the users that come from Xbox. But for Epic itself, so let's say imagine that you wanted to use AI, right? You're okay, we're going to use AI to kind of police hate speech within the game, because you can't, they have millions of players at a time. It's very hard, right, to control all of that. Then what happens is some people are joking. I'm just saying joking around between friends, right? Pretty much a bunch of Jewish people, they're like, hey, Jew, this kind of thing, I'm the Jew gun, whatever it is. Boom, blocked, because it's the AI. You can't use that. And that, fuck,
right.
It just got fucking banned. It just creates a whole big, another problem. But Epic does really deeply care. And they actually are doing the work. Fortnite is an incredibly inclusive environment, LGBTQ diversity, all those things. They do the work. Like Fortnite, you have, for example, articles outside Minecraft, Roblox, there's Nazis building stuff in it. In Fortnite, it's a Holocaust museum. Come on, guys. There's a big fucking difference. Just because Fortnite does not want to adhere to your rules because you want to make them implement those rules so you can fundraise more, pretty much, and claim you're changing things, doesn't mean you give them an F. If anything, you don't maybe agree with something, maybe per C, maybe a B. But the F is really when they straight up declared war on Fortnite, pretty much. And that was just, it was kind of like, how can you take them seriously in the gaming industry kind of after that? No, but really, because even the Epic Games Store, it has the same usernames as the Fortnite ones, had no issues with the Light and Downs. We have close to 300,000 people who have finished it. I never received any hate from the video game or from the Fortnite museum. I received the hate from Twitter. I did. And is there room for video games to improve? Absolutely. But video game developers need to be sent the list of usernames. You need to send things like that. Something which I advocated publicly with the Gamer, which is a gaming website, which I explained, the ADL only stop putting this apps into instead go to companies and be like, we're going to help you.
Yeah.
What can we do to help you, pretty much? Instead of rating these whole things if you don't do it as we say. And that's why pretty much, they've destroyed their reputation within the gaming industry. And there's great people that work there. That's the thing. There's great people within the gaming department. There is.
Right.
But this whole aggressive approach, again, just thinking you're a politician, this and that, because we remember in the gaming industry, we remember the Clinton years. We remember the whole thing, video games are causing mass shootings. We've been through this whole thing before.
Right.
We're over it when we push people away, but we are committed to trying to do things as much as possible. And there's so much room to grow. But you have to work with us, not against us.
Yeah. And I think you really have touched on it there, but it is maybe worth pointing out to people who don't know how creative these young guys who want to spread anti-Semitism get in these video games. They find really creative ways to cheat the system and cheat all the filters and everything that would otherwise catch them. So their tactics are kind of constantly evolving, and they have clicks, and they create these words that they all understand what it means, but maybe the people who work there don't, which is why someone like you or someone who's really read up on this is necessary and helpful. But it feels like that's not getting enough attention, funding.
That's what I'm trying to push. I tried pushing this originally with the ADL earlier this year. They instead sent me a very rude email back calling me a cold caller. So I kind of abandoned that. Once the Gamer interview came out, they reached out to me a couple of months after. I started sending gaming companies to them. I did, very much, because I was like, listen, you have the resources, you have all these things. I don't. I'm one bloody guy.
Yeah.
So I think that has gone well. That has. But I think pretty much the recent war or whole thing of Fortnite, I cannot. Again, I love the gaming part of the ADL, but after Johnson's aggressiveness towards the gaming industry, I'm just publicly telling people we cannot work with them anymore. We pretty much, as long as Johnson is in charge, pretty much we cannot, because he will just do things and put the whole industry on blast for ego reasons, pretty much, rather than just take a step back. That's what I mean. It's even, I think the gaming department should be talking. I think the gaming department should be commenting on games. I don't think it should just be one person commenting on every single thing. He shouldn't even be commenting on things in regards to the Holocaust. When one guy basically likes to compare Elon Musk to Henry Ford, but in a positive way, like he did, right?
Right.
Not being aware of Henry Ford, I think that disqualifies you. He doesn't know. And when he pretty much, again, said Holocaust education can't be used in video games, great, Johnson, you're telling me pretty much you know more than the Israeli head of Holocaust education. Bravo, Jonathan. So after that, I'm just like, he needs to get the hell out of Holocaust education in video games, pretty much, and just let his gaming department handle it. I want nothing to do with him.
Right.
I do, pretty much, and a lot of us. So it's, and also the meetings which I'm taking from people. People are just like coming to me and they're like, we need an alternative. We do. What you've managed to, what they're telling me is you've managed to actually crack the thing with Holocaust education, appealing to young people, this and that. And the way what Johnson did, very much, and how they just let you out to the wolves alone, this needs to change, very much. So that's the thing. But a lot of people are concerned within the space because he's very vengeful, and he will try pretty much to block things like that. And that's not okay. And again, that's not the ADL, that's him personally.
Right.
That's why there's so many articles. Like even yesterday, I think there was another article that came out, leftists at the ADL who are just like, what is he doing? Pretty much.
So just kind of as a little follow-up to that, it seems that if there was something that's been proven to be pretty effective and a way to explain what happened, the horrible events of the Holocaust, to a group that hasn't necessarily quite grasped it, the younger generation, and this is effective and this is working, you think he doesn't understand the whole concept and that's what this is? Or
He went from praising it was in the Jewish Telegraph Agency to just straight up shitting on it, just because I called him out. He just has a personal vendetta which needs to stop. And that's why I'm okay being so public kind of back at it. Because again, I disagree with some things like in the Holocaust space. I think some things are ineffective. I do. But what do I know? Do I have the whole knowledge of everything? I'm doing something different. That's why I'm talking to every group I am, even ones which I may disagree as how Holocaust education is done, because no one has 100% answer on this thing. And when we're seeing pretty much, survey after survey, Holocaust education going down, anti-Semitism going up, it's not working. The thing shouldn't be, let's ask for more money, let's pass more laws, because if that was the case, someone needs to explain Florida to me. Because Holocaust education is mandatory, and someone needs to fucking explain Florida to me. Yeah. So
you're right. I mean, you're right. They're getting more funding, but it keeps going up. The numbers keep getting worse.
Yeah.
Just across the country, across the world, all these social media platforms.
That's actually kind of, you brought up a great point. Because apart from Outswitch, right? Outswitch account where they delved into it. They did. It's effective. It works. It does. Everyone should have been in this space when it started.
Mm-hmm.
It's an utter failure that it was not enough people in this space. So even say, for example, on TikTok, I know Holocaust survivors are running their TikTok. They are pretty much, and they're like 90. Some of them are having to ask for money for their teeth. No. They have millions of followers. They do millions of views. They're having to set up GoFundMe to get new teeth. I am appalled at how with not giving Holocaust survivors the support pretty much, or educating, no matter if they get some facts wrong sometimes, they're fucking old.
Yeah.
But the fact we're not giving them enough support when they're actually reaching millions upon millions of people. When I saw one of the numbers of one survivor which they sent to me, I was like, man, if you were like an influencer, you'd be a fucking millionaire by now. But because they're Holocaust survivors, what are they going to do? Ads for like bikinis? They can't do those things.
Right.
So thankfully, they're like getting book deals, all those things. But they've literally just been begging organizations, please help us. Please fucking help us. And that's why I have such an issue with the way everything it's ran, just being ineffective. Social media, we should have been in this space, but we weren't. And we let it take over. And now we're kind of so fucked we are. Video games, we're at the moment pretty much where I kind of had no choice. It had to be done. So that's it has opened up everything. Where now suddenly it's opened up funding for game developers able to make Holocaust video games, all those things. So I opened that up. Because it's not just for me, it's for everyone it is to be able to do these things. But thankfully, I did that, making that happen. And that's why, again, I have Greenblatt, where I'm like, get the hell out of my way, because you want to go against video games, you want to go against awareness of the Holocaust, your danger pretty much straight up to Holocaust education. And I don't care about saying it at this point. Because also when he makes over $1 million a year, when a third of Holocaust survivors live in poverty, just shut the fuck up, because that's also another thing. So I'm just coming into a space where I saw basically the problem. Not enough people have access to it, pretty much. Young people don't care about websites. They don't.
Yeah.
And again, the shameful thing that a third of US Holocaust survivors live in poverty. And the stories which I've heard at some organizations and museums from educators, where you'll have the CEO come up and just be like, we can't pay you anymore. Meanwhile, he's making over $100 million a year. But the Holocaust side still accepts to do it because he believes that needs to be done. It's kind of, how can I say? It's shameful. A lot of things need to be reformed, pretty much. And enough of people making so much money and being ineffective. Let's get people that care. And I do think a lot of young people do care. They do.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a problem that we have in the US where it's really easy to say support the troops, or it's Veterans Day, it's Memorial Day, people tweet out the flag, and it's easy to have the platitudes and say the right things, but doing the real work, being down and actually helping people is another story.
Yeah, and I just want pretty much just to push everyone towards that, because it is utterly bonkers that someone like me pretty much managing transformative space alone. That's and I don't think I'm great. I don't think I'm exceptional. I don't think I'm a genius. I don't think anything. I'm just more like, how can this happen? Or how can we deliver in 3 weeks what the ADL plans in 3 years? This is not okay. So that's pretty much kind of where I'm coming from. And that's why for the school systems, all those things, I'm like working with local groups. I will not work with a big national organization, because they just be taking our numbers to fundraise off it and not delivering it effectively, compared to, again, the local organizations, which are grassroots level, actually doing the work.
So you stress the importance of learning, the personal stories about the people who were killed in the Holocaust. Can you kind of break down a little bit of how the game works? Maybe we can get an idea of why this worked in a space when a lot of other things didn't.
So The Light in Darkness is more like an interactive film,
right?
An interactive animated film. It's an hour. Pretty much spend an hour with the life of this Jewish family in France and their friend who's a Sephardic Jew. So I don't just show kind of bad parts. I kind of show their life before. Those things you get attached to the characters. So when the characters actually die, it triggers an emotional reaction from people at the end. They talk about kind of issues after that. It really moves them, it does. And it makes them kind of realize also the impact of it. And then pretty much when they see other parts of the Holocaust, they humanize the victims. Because another issue is when museums just show photos, but we don't know their stories, who they are. They just show when they died. Who are these people? It doesn't resonate. It doesn't work. It doesn't. And that's why the whole approach of kind of leading first with the 6 million rather than the individual stories is kind of not effective education, because it just becomes just a number and people just become kind of like, it's too much. It is. And again, it comes down to a point. We're not humanizing the victims. They were just normal people.
Right.
That just, other Europeans, they just were led to slaughter, just murdered. And the Nazis succeeded. That's one thing which I have a different view, where Jewish life has been wiped out of Europe. It's just a fact. It's just present. You can see it. I think in America, they don't realize that. I think people in charge don't realize that, because they're so used to, there's all Jews in America. So it's so used to all those things. That's why I think in Europe, even the way Holocaust education is done, awareness is very different. There's a lot more importance placed on it. And that's why we also have hate speech laws, because we don't want that same shit to happen.
Right.
Because the whole thing with America, they also don't understand the difference between free speech and hate speech. How they're always like, I just said the N-word and they took away my job. And it's like, they took away your job because you're a dickhead. Yeah. It's not because free speech. You're allowed to say that, but people are allowed to be like, I want to work with this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what Americans have not understood. They haven't. And I think it's even kind of hilarious when sometimes I talk to some conservative Jews and they're like, no, free speech is going to solve this. I'm like, it didn't in Europe. It did not help one bit. It didn't, because it just rises, gets continued up, becomes normalized. It does. And that's kind of what we're looking in America, the normalization of hate speech and the normalization of hateful people. Because again, all these platforms they're not free speech platforms. They're actually just hate speech platforms. People, again, free speech is the ability to be like, fuck you, government. I don't fucking agree with you, Biden,
Yeah.
And not get jailed. It's not about going out and saying the N-word. It's not.
Right.
No, definitely.
So something I wanted to ask you about and just clarify is whether it's through ignorance or prejudice, you're always going to come across people who say, well, the anti-Semitism isn't that bad, or the stats they're misleading, people are lying about this, or they just say it doesn't really matter. Can you just explain to people why it matters?
Well, so I would say it's because really, we see like Tree of Life shooting, we see pretty much also like the Buffalo shooting. Guy had anti-Semitic beliefs. We see like the recent woman that got shot in California with a pride flag. He had anti-Semitic beliefs. So the whole thing of anti-Semitism is believing, Jews control everything pretty much. Right. Everything they don't like, pretty much anything, is like the Jews control it. You can see it on the far left, on the far right. It's always like, it's the Jews. It is. But that kind of bleeds out into, you know, danger for other groups, basically, too. And that's why I think pretty much when you're fighting anti-hate, pretty much, you know, bigotry, you do have to include in anti-Semitism because it's kind of the root of a lot of causes. It is pretty much. So it's insane because that's the whole thing. Because even when I was getting Nick Fuentes supporters all after me, they're like, the ADL is behind this. I'm like, no, I cannot stand green bloc. Like, I wish the ADL controlled as much as you think it does. It doesn't.
Right.
And so that's the thing, actually, being behind the scenes, you realize how bad everything is ran and how I'd really love instead it'd be like, maybe bring the Nazis on tour and be like, hey, you actually want to see how everything's run? Yeah, it's a disaster. You still believe it, pretty much? Because, you know, because even people like the Zionist occupied government, all those things, Israel can't even fucking function without a year or two, like, having to elect a new. Everything's a disaster. It is. And that's kind of where, but, you know, people always have their conspiracies, all those things. It's just human nature. It's just at this point in America, it's at the boiling point. It's at the boiling point where pretty much even people I know from the far right, because again, at times like you have to talk to everyone, you have to really know what the fuck is going on. Even people's in the Rumble platform are kind of privately telling me, they're like, it's bad. There's going to be a shooting any moment. It's fucking bad. This is like a cult-like thing. Zerka, all those people, they're kind of like, this is fucking bad. Zerka and all that crew.
Yeah.
Fuentes lovers. And when you have the far right, just be like, guys, we're in some shit right now. It needs to be taken even more seriously. So that's really why what is just so even fascinating. I think even the far right has kind of been like, it's really bad, pretty much. That's the situation we're kind of in America. That's why I think I don't like to be like, no, in the next 2 years it's going to be like this. And no, it's going to be course over decades. That kind of thing. It's going to take time. But if we don't reduce it now, we could look pretty much people elected within our government who could be full-on Nick Fuentes supporters or like him. And right. I think it will happen in the next decade or two. Like, absolutely, because all these young people, these groypers, they're spreading. It's becoming more and more and more. But also, our politicians are not effective because kind of these people like have lower income, all those kinds of things, they're disenfranchised and they're being part of these groups. But we're not even approaching them with empathy, which is a weird thing to say, pretty much. Approach Nazi sympathizers with empathy, because we kind of have to get them out of it. We do. Right. I mean, that's what I do like Bernie Sanders' message in general, because Bernie Sanders just like, it's the economy. And I'm like, yes, it is the economy. It's a socioeconomic kind of thing, which is the big problem in America, which is causing growing hate, which is causing all these issues and racism and lack of opportunity for people. So that's why even politicians just talk about, oh, we're going to help do more. I'm like, you guys are from the cities, you're actually not doing anything, you are.
Right.
So I think it's a combination even on the left, pretty much. Because even on the left, why Trump voters went to Trump is because the left decided to demonize these rural people. And Trump just came and he's like, I will work for you, I'll do this and all that. So of course they're like, yes, yes, yes. And that's why I think it's actually a failure on the left too, on our politicians. Like, again, that's why I like Bernie. We should have been need more people like Bernie who can actually be like, I will also fight for you too. Like, it's a man, not just people inside cities. I mean, you can even see on the campaign trail, when Hillary did her whole campaign, she just missed all the rural areas. Right. She did. I think people are so out of touch with the average American. I do. And I think because I grew up in poverty in France, I got kicked out of all schools, didn't have access to anything. I know what it's like, very much, to be poor. And that's a problem. Our leaders make too much money. They're not working class. They don't understand how most people in America feel. I mean, even if you look at it, the stats of 80% of people haven't been to Holocaust Museum. It's not their fault. Why the fuck did it take a museum in Fortnite for them to be able to access it? That's fucking insane. 80%. But that just shows how much people in education, I don't just mean the Holocaust space, I just mean education period, we put everything on the cities and we just kind of like, fuck you to the rest of America. And that creates the situation which we're in.
Getting people to fight the race war and the culture war so they don't notice that they might want to start looking at the class war. It's definitely a thing. And one thing that we've covered kind of extensively in the last while, and it seems like we hear about another one of these every single week, that there's a trend now with a lot of congressional staffers being outed as Nick Fuentes acolytes. Like almost once a week, a story comes out about, this staffer is a groiper, actually. So what you're saying about, 10 years down the line, we're going to have groipers elected as politicians, I would almost say I think it's going to be sooner than that, because at least some of these people are getting their feet wet in that level as we speak. So I hear what you're saying about the empathy. You're never going to get these people out of this space without a certain level of understanding where they're coming from. And, again, we've had people like Mattson and Tawny Browning who dealt with, Nazi skinheads through Arizona through the 90s and the 00s and tried to get people out of that when they could. And just the idea of coming to these people where they are and saying, hey, there's a better way.
Yeah, that was the thing. I talked to one of the Nazis that went after me. He was kind of like, the goth-looking guy, very much. And I quite liked his Twitter feed. His Twitter feed was all kind of shit I like. Crow, all that stuff. Like, it seemed like we had so much things in common. So I decided to start talking with him. I did, just to be like, mate, we have so much stuff in common. Why do you hate me? Or why do you hate Jews? And he was very calm in explaining back, where it's like, I'm disenfranchised pretty much. Everyone keeps on saying that us in the rural area that we're shit. And I discovered National Socialism, and I saw it as the way out for us. And I actually don't want you to die. I just want you to go back to Israel, pretty much. Well, I was like, okay, well, at least you don't want me to die. It's one thing. You just want to deport me. Yeah, I guess that's one kind of progress there. But he's a lonely guy who just felt abandoned, and for some reason, because we had so many things in common with him, I felt bad. I actually cried. I was like, this guy in another life could maybe be my friend.
Had he ever talked to a Jewish person before?
I don't know. I know, actually. Oh, yes. He did tell me that he did, and he had a bad experience, and I was kind of like, people are individuals, they are. Like, you can't decide to treat an entire group based on individuals. Like, I give one example. So I pretty much inside France, I hung out with all the Arab kids. I did pretty much, and even my father, since we have like ethnic Moroccan origins too on the French side, he pretty much like all the restaurants which he had, it was like kind of like Moroccans, pretty much, even super French places. And there's this thing where pretty much, a lot of people believe a lot of Arab countries super anti-Semitic, those kind of things. But I experienced something different, but also probably because of how open I am, kind of all those things. So that's a weird thing where I think pretty much I just like treat people as individuals. I do pretty much every time.
Right.
Because I think we just group everyone together kind of every time. I think there should be a way out for these people, because if we don't give them a way out, they will be getting worse. It sounds weird, but the only kind of saving they do, because I do believe if someone's a Nazi and they didn't cause any physical harm, right? Because physical harm, fuck you, go to jail.
Yeah.
If they didn't cause any physical harm, I'm like, I try and get them out. I want them to come out. I mean, this is insane. I even talked, because again, I talked to an ex-friend of Fuentes I did. And I was pretty much, man, please, if Fuentes can just get out, disavow everything pretty much. If he wants to remain a Christian and be into God, go ahead. But if he could fucking do it, some people might be wanting to help him pretty much come out. I know he's done so much damage, but it's like, I want to try and get people out of this thing pretty much, rather than push them more towards the extreme. And I know it's an insane thing. And that's why The Light and Darkness, like, told people, I hope Nazis play it. I hope they actually have empathy. I hope we can manage to just get these people out. And that's why I think I approach things a bit more differently. It's a weird thing. I just view things with empathy, I do. But again, if someone commits violent acts, I'm like, but again, I don't think Fuentes will ever get out, but if someone could get Fuentes out, could fucking reduce all this shit, we could. But
yeah, definitely.
He's too hateful, he is. But if one day he has an epiphany, it would reduce a lot of shit. It would.
Yeah, well, I think your strategy though is the difference between winning, beating them, and actually making a difference and making the world better. And I don't think it's wrong to hope, and I don't think it's wrong to try.
Yeah, because I remember I've watched like Vice documentaries, things like that. Like people used to be Nazis, and now tattooers pretty much helped them get all their Nazi tattoos covered up. I'm like, and even this black social worker who made friends with someone who she got out of being a Nazi, and I'm like, I think that's a beautiful thing, and I really think we need to give a path for these people to come back, because if they don't have a path, they will continue in it.
Yeah,
that's the main big problem, and that's why I think it's even insane that there's a film as popular as American History X. Again, no one kind of got the message, pretty much. No one seemed to have understood it. How it was like, because they also showed how much hate destroyed. It destroyed him, destroyed his family. It did. But how his path towards actually becoming a better person. I do think he should have, however, stayed in jail. I do, pretty much not being released, because he did kill someone.
Right.
So that's all was a thing. But as long as no one's committed acts of violence, I think we should help them get out, because that's the problem. That's their only community, two of these people.
Yeah.
That's their community. They're scared to leave their, it's like cults, it is. They're scared to leave their community. So it's, so they don't have anyone. And that's why I even think in terms of cancellations, all those things, I'm more of the method of like talking to, if someone's like, fuck you, I'm still a bigot, then okay, fuck you. Send the mob after them, pretty much. But if it's like, I fucked up, didn't realize why I fucked up, just give them a path out. Help people become better, because there isn't, the reality is none of us are perfect. We aren't, pretty much. And you just, again, I just look at humans on an individual level, depending on what's happened to them. They might have certain views, might have this and that, but it's trying to bring people out. And maybe I have this kind of different philosophy, because I'm not from America. I've lived in so many different cities. I have so many different cultures, and I just like people.
Right.
And I do like different cultures, all those things. And maybe, again, it's people are disenfranchised and they see Nick Fuentes as their leader. They see him as the way out. They see him as that kind of thing. And just telling them, you can't be a bigot, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Agreed. You have to come to them a little more where they are and understand, like, how did they end up in this stuff in the first place? If you really want to get someone out of it, I think you have to say, okay, so why are you in it? Because everybody's kind of different. Everybody's got their own sort of path that they took to get to that point.
And I think it really is, from what I've noticed, a big socioeconomic thing.
Yeah.
And that's why, if I had Johnson Greenblatt's salary, I would pretty much, what I would do is actually try and get these people out, pretty much. Like actually try meeting them, try and get them into creating things. Like, say, for example, like try and find like kind of other outlets, like, because these people, I mean, if you look at the Holocaust, right, people turned that way. Society, Europe turned that way. And I do not forgive Europe for that. I don't. I will never forgive Nazi Germany. At the same time, like, for example, the current Germans now, I'm not going to hate on them. It's not their fault. It isn't, what their ancestors did. And, Germany showed, the country itself, it does have problems now again, fucking hell. But for a couple of years, they showed you can have a way out, pretty much, in acknowledging your past and actually doing the right thing. So you just need to give people a way out. It's kind of the same thing. If you just kind of bang, because even in France, what was interesting in France after World War II, French government was like, yeah, we know we did the Holocaust. Oops. We're not going to admit it, though, because we're French. But then they decided to put in loads of anti-Semitic programs, and then they decided to create this whole fake thing about France were the resistance, all of us were the resistance. The reason why they did that was to basically push the French people and be like, you don't want to be a Nazi and fascist, you need to be a part of the resistance, you need to be proud to be French, fought the Nazis, you don't like anti-Semites. They did that thing to kind of push France towards that kind of way, right, which is not great, because they were denying shit until the 90s when they admitted it finally. But I understood that kind of method to kind of do kind of those things. See, even if you made it, how can I say, less cool to be a Nazi, if you made it more cool to be an anti-Nazi, because that's also the problem which we're facing in America, and it's quite cool to be a Nazi, it is. That's nothing with young people. And then also Nick Fuentes, he's funny.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
another problem. You know, he's kind of funny. He has charisma. And that's the problem. I'd say the people fighting him, right? I'm going to talk shit about him again. Jonathan Greenblatt has as much charisma as a wet towel. He does. Like, it's kind of hard to kind of fight this little dick, pretty much, Fuentes, you know, with suits.
Yeah. He knows his audience, I think, a lot better than like a Jonathan Greenblatt does. He knows how to talk to that generation because that's where he's from. I mean, he grew up playing Minecraft. He grew up with the same cultural signifiers that all of these kids has. He can speak in their language, where a guy like, I don't know how old Jonathan Greenblatt is, but he's older than Fuentes. And he doesn't seem like he's up on any of these references. He doesn't know how to talk to these kind of people, and you're seeing the results.
Well, I think that's why pretty much the Fortnite Museum is where he kind of lost his mind, Fuentes, where he was very much like, this guy's actually coming into my fucking turf now.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Casey kind of exploded. And I think, in a way, it's kind of a positive thing, because it's like, I think we can actually reduce this. I really think we're coming into Nick Fuentes' turf. We are with better tools, because, you know, he could never build like a Groyper exhibit within Fortnite, you know. So we're kind of coming in with these things, and we're kind of going to his terrain, the gamer, all those kind of things. We're like, and we're actually making it interesting. And so, because even if you look at Gamergate changed everything. It did. And a lot of anti-hate groups don't realize Gamergate was the start of all these things. And because the gaming industry, we let it happen, we did. It's kind of on us to help fix things now, which, you know, we're trying to do. But that's, again, the problem. Organizations don't even realize the impact of Gamergate, how it's the whole culture of everything now. I mean, it's why everything's kind of gone so crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And it really kind of sounds like it shook him. I mean, Fuentes, when he realized that, hey, they've kind of gone around me and they've built a Holocaust museum in what is traditionally my turf. This is my world. And all of a sudden they've put up a flag right here and said, guess what? We're going to talk to these people about it where you live. And I mean, from what I saw, maybe you had a different impression. It definitely looked like at least part of the vitriol that was directed at you specifically was because, oh my God, this guy knows how to talk to the kids that I'm trying to talk to.
That was the thing, because funny enough, once I got Fuentes' account banned,
right, and
then it was another account banned pretty much, and then what was going on, a lot of the Groypers started blocking me everywhere, and then one account that put me on 20 outs, which popped back up again, like, I'm up, fuck this guy. They blocked me, but now, you know, someone sent it to me, and I was like, banned again. So then the Groypers kind of just backed off, because they were like, this guy kind of, you know, is actually coming in and actually now taking care of our accounts. But the thing is, too, I know a lot more, even things which I haven't revealed publicly, about people very much behind this stuff. Like, you know, some things where I'm like, I know too much information, and that's why I'm not going public with it pretty much, because I'm like, I don't want to, because I think that's too much information. But it's just kind of insane, because it's a lot of people who are just activists, come on Twitter, all those things, find all the things, sending them to me and just being like this and that. And that's why, again, I think it's insane that the big organizations can't operate like that, because that's how you get shit done.
Yeah.
Because again, removing him off Twitter made a lot of difference. It did to me personally. Once he was removed, started dying down, and just them being scared that their accounts will get this, or, you know, people, because there was even like some other Twitter accounts, they came in too, and they're like, we're going to fucking dox you if you continue. So it's send them kind of back to their caves. It did. And that's I'm honestly ready. Again, if they come back pretty much, because now I do have access directly to Twitter, people at work there. But again, we have to remain within Elon Musk's stupid rules,
right,
pretty much. So it's like, I either need to receive a death threat, or someone needs to be like, from a banned account. So that's the thing. It is possible, and it is possible to scare them back into their stupid websites.
Yeah, the online ghetto. I mean,
Yeah.
they just send them back to the website that you really have to look for to go find. You can't kick them off the internet, but if it's hard to get there, then well, that's going to decrease their audience and their platform, and that's the goal.
I think that's also been another problem. I mean, you guys know about the Graham Defense League, right?
Oh, yes.
So the Graham Defense League, they're honestly, it's a bunch of white supremacists, but every time we keep on giving them publicity, it keep on like news, this, that. We're making them appear bigger than what they are, and we're actually growing them. That's the problem. We're actually growing them because people are quite anti-Semitic. That, oh, who's that group? Okay, Graham Defense League. Oh, cool. Donate. And again, just posting their videos, which they want people to see. All those things. Well, again, they need to be sent back into ignorance.
Yeah.
Frame. So that's another problem.
People can't stop taking the bait. It's like they see a banner. They see 5 guys on a bridge somewhere holding a banner, and all of a sudden that's national news in this country that 5 guys did a banner drop, and they went outside of Disneyland and they held up some offensive signs, and the next thing you know, they're on every TV station. It's like, congratulations, you just put their website address on national TV, and now anybody who wants to know about it can just go right to it and find it.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. Because in LA, I remember, because I do watch their streams, and pretty much when they were in LA with their van, like, they were kind of scared, because the moment pretty much people saw them, they're like, we're gonna fucking beat you up, kind of thing. And on the bridge, pretty much people going up to them, Latino people going up to them, be like, I'm gonna fuck you up. So it's just, again, we're just showing kind of them as singers too. We're portraying them as powerful, as threatening, when in fact they're a bunch of fucking pussies.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at what Nathan Levy did when, the UFC fight, you guys probably saw that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He invited a bunch of them trolls, he fucking beat them up.
Yeah.
Just do that kind of stuff. That's all these people deserve. They don't deserve national spotlight. They don't deserve to be viewed as bigger than this. They need to be viewed as basically just losers. And it's what they are, because the moment we're making them more and more powerful, more and more fucking famous, people want to be more like them, more infamous.
Oh, yeah.
And, kind of shoot up things, even the way we kind of worship mass shooters there, where it's like, let's do a 6-part documentary on someone who ate people. That seems like a great idea. So we're making these people want to be famous.
Right.
And even when I was seeing, when the Fuentes people attacking me, I was seeing like pictures of these incels that had actually shot up people. I forgot the name, but famous ones. Past their profile pictures. We're creating this whole fame thing. And again, we need to be dealing with this hate. We do. We need to be dealing with this shit privately and taking care of it behind the scenes, pretty much, like, again, how Fuentes was able to get taken care of. And that's going to kind of mention people who helped me, and they don't even want the credit. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to stop being on TV, giving these people more publicity.
Right. If we're going to show a video of Nick Fuentes, let's show the video of him crying after he got his last Twitter account banned and complaining about how he can't stand being without Twitter, and Twitter is better than real life, and damn it, give me my account back. Show that again. And then explain, every time you come out, buddy, every time you pop up with another ban account, we're going to get you again. Bam.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's all it is. But I do think, again, it's because people in leadership positions don't understand it pretty much. I mean, at this point, again, if I had the money of the ADL, I'd be like, hey, Nathan Levy, you want budget toward beating up Nazis? I'll pay for all the police fines you're going to get, pretty much. I'll just go, oh, you want to fight Nick Fuentes? Great. Okay. Like, it would be ridiculous, but it's effective, because these small little pieces of shit, we're kind of placing them as these grand, scary things. We are, and what's giving them power. It is that's also another problem too. I think Nick Fuentes is dangerous, but we're also making him dangerous by not, just even on TV. Like, when we talk about him, it shouldn't be he's such a threat. It should be he's a fucking little bitch.
He can't keep a friend either. He can't keep an ally. So yes, he does have these followers, these soldiers and minions, but also, yeah, this movement is scary and it's a problem, but also he keeps always sabotaging himself.
Even the thing with Ham seeing Ethan Ralph is pretty much a complete war against him, kind of on Twitter, leaking his shit, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, now they're just fighting all between each other. But again, in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, so Ethan Ralph is managing to get all his leaked things pretty much, and he's been fighting with them for a while, but anti-hate organizations can't?
Yeah.
What the heck's going on?
Yeah, seriously. It's like, this isn't hard. Tracking down this kind of stuff is not hard. Tracking down what his new account is called when he gets another one, this is like, you could find it in 5 minutes if you wanted to. So they have research, they have staffs. If they think this is an important way to go about it, it ain't that hard.
Yeah, that's a big issue. It's not that hard in RC Sync. Like, even if there's a small team of 10 people around the clock, pretty much 24 hours a day at different time zones, tracking down these neo-Nazis pretty much, maybe which accounts, well, just being in their Telegram. It'd be effective. We'll be able to like stop this stuff. But it's kind of like you need to keep this constantly going. You don't need to be like, only say, for example, being like, Elon Musk, please pay attention to me. It's like, Elon Musk doesn't care.
Right.
He's awful. He doesn't care. So now we have to take this shit into our own hands pretty much and try and just fix everything or reduce it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. Just the policy thing, it will never change in America. No matter how many Holocaust education laws we pass, it will never stop the right of Nazis because of the whole American thing on you're allowed to be a Nazi kind of thing, because Florida is just the prime example. And if people haven't realized it at this point, I mean, that's why I don't think that they're fit to lead. I don't anymore, because there's a great TV show came out by Sarah Salemi on the BBC. It's called Ridley Road.
Okay.
4-episode TV show. It's about the anti-fascist Jews in the 60s against the neo-Nazis. And it shows how they had to infiltrate them, because, the government wasn't doing anything, kind of managing to expose them, this and that. It really it gives kind of blueprint of how this thing needs to be fought. It does. Like, you can't, these people are fighting like in a different way. They're fighting dirty, they are. You just can't continue doing statements. You actually have to be in on that. Infiltrate them. Super bloody easy. Mm-hmm. Like, I know multiple anti-fascists who are like, actually within groups, all those things. Like, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's just time consuming is the key word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've seen some of the hate and the vitriol that you receive for the work that you do. How do you stay positive and keep going with this subject matter on your mind all the time?
I think I don't have a choice. I literally do think, coming from Europe, I think America doesn't treat the Nazi threat real enough. I don't. And I don't think anyone's treating this properly enough. So it's kind of like I don't really have a choice much. And I think I've just become used to it now. So it's like if someone says to me, go back to Outwitch, I'm just like, oh, okay, kind of move on, kind of thing. But I can't think about other people who can't kind of handle this. And that's why I want the ADL to be better, because this could have probably pushed some person to suicide.
Right.
It could have. I don't give a shit. I fucking see, for instance, person will punch him in the face. But this is why I'm speaking out and why I think there needs to be real change, because one, I think the country is in danger. And I think it's affecting more just Jewish people. It is minorities, leftists, like, I mean, just even that shopkeeper. And we're not taking this seriously enough. But it needs to be a cultural change. It needs to appeal to the hearts and minds of people, pretty much. Because even if you look at it, it does work. I mean, now we do have even majority of Republicans who agree on gay marriage. So it is possible to make progress. It really is. But we just have to kind of try things differently. Stop the culture wars. Stop things like that. Stop like us just constantly fighting, getting more and more divided, because since we're so divided, we're not listening to each other anymore. We're just getting kind of balling up. And even if you look at Europe had the choice back then between the far left or the far right. They chose the far right. The far right always wins. That's why I'm just like, we don't fight the far right by being utterly insane, like super far left and insane. We fight them by trying to actually convert people, not saying it's convert people, trying to make people understand where this is heading and why we can't head toward this, and we need to calm things down.
Yeah.
We do. And I don't think the issue that our politicians just want the votes. Our politicians just want the votes, and the head of anti-hate organizations just want to be on TV. And the people just, again, doing the work, like the great researchers at the ADL, they're just powerless. Right. So that's why I believe more in a democracy, pretty much. I do think there's too much of a monopoly within anti-hate organizations. I think it needs to be broken down. Smaller groups for each state who can actually do the work. They can. I think bringing in younger people, very much. Because even within a lot of Holocaust organizations, I know there's a lot of anti-fascists who joined because they just kind of like, they want to stop kind of Nazi spread. The answering Jewish, just like, I see it happening. I need to manage to find ways for it, to try and reduce this. So people want to do these things. Leaders on boards need to rethink everything and just change and let the young people lead. Because again, how old is Fuentes? Like 24. We're dealing with we're dealing with a child. We are, who's just outsmarting all of us because he understands that space. He does. Like, we can't be sending 50-year-olds after him. We can't.
Luc, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell us how people can find you online and where they can go to support the important work you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me on Twitter, Luc Bernard, but it's LUC, so the French version.
Right.
LUC, then Bernard.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and talk about this today. I mean, it's been great meeting you, the interesting people you meet on Twitter in the course of all of this kind of stuff.
I know, right?
Really looking forward to getting a chance to play your game and check out how this works. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and you have a great rest of your evening, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Luc.
Thanks, Luc.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Did Nothing Wrong podcast. If you want to hear more, you can find us on the web at didnothingwrongpod.com. Please make sure you subscribe to get our content straight into your inbox. You can also follow us on Twitter at James, the word 4, and the letter M, all one word, and Grizza BJJ, GRZA-BJJ, as well as DNW Pod. We're extremely grateful for paid subscriptions and donations that allow us to keep doing this important work. Thanks, and remember, everyone mentioned did nothing wrong.